DC Multiverse!
Good day, super friends. Welcome back to my channel. Today, courtesy of McFarlane Toys, I present to you my review of the Batman 3 Jokers, Batman, Red Hood, Criminal, and Clown Joker action figures. All four of these fantastic action figures are based off of the hit comic book series Batman, the 3 Jokers. As you can see, each one of these figures comes in the exact same box art as usual, black, white, and blue, so nothing new there. And the back of each package, each one of them, has an image that will also be the trading card, as usual, and other figures that you can get in the series. So let's get all these guys out of their packaging, and then we'll continue on with the video. Alright, and we're back with all of them out. Batman, Red Hood, and the Clown and Criminal Jokers. You can see that each one comes with a trading card, which we all knew because they always come with a trading card. Here's Batman's, and here's Red Hood's, and here's the Clown Joker, and here's the Criminal Joker. Each one of these also comes with an action figure base because they always come with an action figure base. It's round, it's black, it's got a foot peg, and it says DC on it. And they each come with their own accessories. Batman here comes with his Bat Grapple line launcher. Red Hood comes with his crowbar. The Clown Joker comes with this big, meaty, beefy crowbar, which is actually a different crowbar than the one that Jason Todd comes with. It's thicker, it's bigger, and it would just generally suck even more to get clouted upside of the head with this thing. Joker also comes with this here fishy. Looks like he didn't find Nemo, but he certainly found this terror. And finally, the Criminal Joker has this fancy-dancy walking cane. It's clearly a fancy man's walking cane. You can tell by the top here. This is pre-walking cane with the Joker head on top. Now let's look at each one of these up close, starting with arguably the best figure in the wave, the Batman. So for starters, I really like the look of Batman's big burly chest with that great big bat emblem set in there as a separate piece. It's been painted nice, it's been sculpted nicely. The belt looks good too. It's not entirely accurate to the story though. It's actually a little bit different in the source material. And on the back, there are no capsules. I think it was like that in the comic books as well. The cape is made out of a nice softer rubber, and I do like not only the design of the cape, so you've got all the wrinkles and lines in it, and the fact that they kind of go into some V's in the middle here, but it's also textured. It's a nice leathery texture. And the same thing for the cowl. You do have a lot of texturing there that matches the cape. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I mean, I do think this is probably the best Batman head sculpt from the McFarlane Toys line to date. This is my favorite, although I could probably do with a much more smoother looking cowl, as in with the source material. But I do understand why they decided to make it textured like that so it would match the cape. Same thing with these gauntlets. All the black seems to have like a texturing to it, but this looks very, very cool. These are pretty accurate to the source material. Nice long scallops here on his gloves. You got wrinkles in the suit here to denote the fact that it's fabric, which is very cool because it was a fabric suit. Alfred cut it off of him in the series. And then you've got his boots here, which certainly are, from what I can tell, also pretty much comic book accurate. So yeah, no complaints. This is probably my favorite McFarlane Toys Batman figure that he's made to date. And then we have the Red Hood, whose design I really did enjoy in the graphic novel. I liked the fact that he had a really Robin-esque tunic underneath his black leather jacket, and that he actually has a hood right here at the back. It would have been kind of fun if there was an alternate head that came with this guy. Maybe there will be later in a box set or something like that. But the helmet does look really, really good, and you could probably get away with swapping this helmet back and forth with the other McFarlane Toys Red Hood, and it would likely look pretty darn good. Just like with Batman, the leather jacket also has some texturing to it as if it's a leather jacket, and it's actually fairly convincing looking. So kudos to Todd's team for actually making this leather jacket look like the leather. However, from the waist down, this Red Hood figure actually loses most of its accuracy points. And that's because from the waist down, this is essentially the previous Red Hood figure's body parts that have been recycled. And actually, it's the same with the gloves as well. They're also recycled parts. For the source material, Red Hood's lower half actually had the tunic sticking up below the belt, and there was an R on the belt, and there were capsules. But overall, it does not detract from the figure, and they did kind of try to paint it accurately with the red on the back of the boots here. So yeah, certainly one of my favorite McFarlane Toys figures. And then we have the Clown Joker. This, I feel, for a lot of people will become their main McFarlane Toys Joker, just because he has a very classic Joker-esque look to him. It is kind of sad that this version of the Joker doesn't last past the first issue, because an angry, spiteful, unforgiving Jason Todd decides to shoot him in the head and blow his brains out. Honestly though, it is kind of understandable. I mean, he did beat him over the head with a crowbar and then blow him up and leave him for dead. Overall, this is a really nice version of the character. You've got the green shirt, which has been sculpted really nicely, the black tie coming under the collar there, soft rubber, lighter purple coat that is in fact accurate to the source material, as previously stated, over the dark striped purple pants. I really like this face sculpt too. I feel like that's a pretty reasonable look for a classic style Joker there. And as usual, the hair is a separate sculpted piece, so that's also a cool thing. For me, this version of Joker will likely become my go-to in the 7-inch scale. I think we have a new winner here for me. And then, of course, we have the Criminal Joker. A Joker based on more or less the first incarnation of the Joker from way back in the day. He was the more criminal, mastermindy, gangstery Joker. During the story arc, this was a Joker who was a lot less nonsense and joking around and a lot more let's just get the job done. And he's a very, very simple figure. He's just your basic purple all the way around in a suit, and his jacket has been fit over what looks to be the exact same shirt area as the previous Joker. And really, they both share the exact same pants and the exact same shoes. The face sculpt for this version of the Joker is actually spot on too when you compare it to, well, this image. When you look at that image and then you come back to this version of the Joker's face, I think it's a pretty close approximation. Of note, I'm not entirely sure, but it does appear that both of these Jokers actually share the exact same hair sculpt too. Now let's just do a few comparisons. I've got the Arkham City on the one side. It's got a custom cape, but it's the Arkham City Batman nonetheless. And then on the other side, we have the Detective Comics 1000. And then I brought in the Jim Lee styled Mafex Hush Batman. And then on the other side, we have a DC Universe Classic scale Batman. And then I thought I would do just one more. I figured it would be kind of fun to compare him to the DC Direct 10-year anniversary Batman figure. Ah, heck, one more. A custom fabric style blue and gray oval with pouch belt custom Batman. And then for Red Hood, first let's stick him in between McFarlane's first Red Hood offering, and on the other side, the DC Essentials Red Hood, and then why not the Mattel on the left, and then the DC Collectibles New 52 on the right. Now for the Joker, let's compare him to two previous versions that McFarlane has released. The Arkham version on the left with a completely new head sculpt, and then on the right we have the comic book version, Vanilla. And then why don't we compare these two to two more of my favorite Jokers, two customized Jokers, the DC Essentials on the left and a DC Universe Classic scale on the right. And now for a quick articulation segment, just so you can see what these figures can and can't do. Starting with the Joker, you can see that he's actually fairly well articulated with the 2 points from the waist and the torso. The head has a satisfying amount of articulation and motion up in there. Of course, there's the rounded hinge, and because he's got a suit jacket, he's not really going to go up that far, but there is some good rotation. There's a bicep swivel, double jointed elbows. He can actually touch his head, which is good. He's got some articulation in the wrist, which is going to be that rounded hinge. The jacket will get in the way a little bit, but overall, that is still a pretty reasonable amount of articulation. Down here in his groin, you can see he's got what we all know the McFarlane figures have, which ends up being a pretty darn good range of motion. You've got your knees, which are crunched up to be double jointed really, really well. I like that a lot. And then for the feet, as usual, there's going to be the little hinge down there that will also be on a pivot. The pants will get in the way for this Joker figure, as with this one too. I'm sure that the ankles could have a little bit better motion, but he is wearing pants that go over top of the shoes. And again, this Joker has actually all of the exact same articulation points, especially down here, because he's the same mold for the legs here. In this Joker's torso, he's got the waist and up here. Now you're not going to get as much of a range of motion because he's got the big rubber jacket on, but it's the same points as this Joker here. Same thing for the arms and also for the head. So I don't really need to go through all of his articulation points. For the Red Hood, you know that he's going to have the same as the previous Red Hood's leg articulation. So actually not a lot as far as what you would consider to be a thigh cut, which was the same with the previous one. Does have the double jointed knees, and he has really well articulated feet with the toe articulation as well as the ankles here on the rounded hinge that pivot. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the Joker's also got toe articulation. I totally missed that. Anywho, you got the waist, which obviously has good articulation, and the torso, which is on a ball joint. It's all right, not super great. As usual, the torso doesn't really want to push down that far, but you can get him into some bendy backy poses and some sideways poses. You do have the rounded hinges in the armpits with the bicep swivel, the double jointed elbows, the crunch up good enough for me, and then you've got the head, which is on that little ball joint there. So Red Hood is actually pretty well articulated. Some might argue he doesn't have quite enough, but this amount of articulation for someone like me is going to be just fine. And then we have the Batman, and this one, I off the bat will say that he doesn't actually have the head on a ball joint. As you probably noticed in the review, the head is actually attached to the torso at the neck, the same as the Rebirth style Batman figure that McFarlane released. So it's all articulated down here. So for those of you hoping to do a head swap with this Batman, you're kind of SOL. He's got the torso and waist articulation, which is actually definitely good enough for me. Again, as usual, down is a really difficult thing for these figures. He also has the little the butterfly approximation inside there, if you can see it. He's got the rounded hinge, the bicep swivel, the double jointed elbow. So he is a fairly well articulated Batman figure from the waist up. The waist down, he's obviously going to have that articulation that we know that all the McFarlane figures have. He also does have some pretty good round motion up there. The approximation of a thigh cut, double jointed knees that are definitely ample. And then you've also got this ankle hinge, the same as the rest, the rounded hinge that pivots and spins, and toe articulation for Batman's booty. So what do I think about these four figures? Do I like them? Do they get me excited for the release of the Batgirl and the Comedian Joker? Will they be enough to tide me over and wet my whistle until their release? Well, absolutely yes. I like all four of these figures very much. I would have to say that the Batman and the Red Hood are my two favorites, and I really do like the Clown Joker as well. Those three, I think, are the standout of the four. But overall, I certainly think that if you find these guys on the pegs when they're released, that you're in for a real treat when you take these guys home. Big thanks to McFarlane Toys for getting in contact with me and sending me over these figures, as well as a whole slew of others. That's fantastic. That's going to save me money, it's going to keep my channel going, and it's going to enable me to keep making content for you for at least a few more videos. And in the end, that's one of my greatest joys in life, making videos for you folks. Anyway, that's all I got for today. Have yourself a super awesome DC day, and take care. Bye for now.